last few weeks, we have looked at site selection, intercropping, irrigation. But after you've planted, the next most important thing that will affect your production is pest. So today we are joined by Earl Pest, our regional plant health and food safety officer, and we have with us, continuing with Mark Harvey, agricultural extension officer. So I turn it over to you. Before that, we want to thank our sponsors, Evergo, Digital Foundation, our reviews, and our set design is done by Skyfall. We also want to thank Ministry of Agriculture and RADA St. Andrew for accommodating us.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. One and all farmers, householders, boys and girls, welcome to another in the series of saying yes to fresh backyard garden style. And we have been running this series for the last 5 weeks, but we had a break last week, and we're back because the work have to be continued. You know, Mr. Watkins was here at the last session, and he's back here again. A man with a lot of knowledge and a lot of wisdom, and a man who will give us the information in relation to the do's and the don'ts in relation to the pest and disease that will affect the crops that we normally grow. This is very important in the sense that farmers and householders in general have been having some serious issues with a lot of pests and a lot of diseases. And one of the things is that to identify these pests and to identify the type of disease that are actually affecting the crops. That is one of the things that is creating some problem because of the lack of knowledge. They are unable to identify to say if it is really powdery mildew or a downy mildew or what sort of treatment ought to be given and at the rate that it ought to be given. So Mr. Watkins, it is good to have you here today. And I want you to feel free and feel at home because this is your home, you know. You're here at your extended home and you're going to give to the wider society the necessary information that they will need to ensure that they get maximum production from whatever crops they're planting. We are going to have some slides that will show some of the pests, the natural pests. We're going to talk about some of the natural predators for some of these pests, you know, because we don't want persons to see a lady beetle or maybe see some wasp flying around, you know, I said, boy.
But with that, you have the helpful insect, or that considered the farmer's friend. And then you know you have the natural pests, and then well, we use that we will call it biological control. Yes, I'll try to reduce as much that chemical and improve on the natural
means of control. Yeah, and it is very important for us to put some emphasis on the natural means of control, knowing that the children are at home now. And we know for a fact that persons would normally try to secure the chemicals in a safe way. But the thing is that we can never be too safe, you know? And so the less chemical that will be used, is the safer the environment will be. You know, so
safe for the angler.
Yeah.
Who apply the chemical. As I said, mentioned the storage and safe even some insects like bees and some other social insects are helpful in chemical.
Because when you look it up, a man may see certain insect in his field, like let's say the common wasp that you normally find on the lintels of the house, and a man may say, boy, them think they're kind of dangerous and they might do some damage. But in a sense, are these beneficial pests or beneficial insects, or are they harmful to the crops that you actually grow?
No, they are beneficial pests in the sense that they will help to control some of the pests or the insect pests that we might have, right? So if we see them out in the field as much as possible, try to preserve them. So for example, with the wasp, if we don't mess with the wasp, the wasp will mess with right.
Yeah,
So
that's just a protective move.
that's a protect. Yeah,
well,
natural instinct.
I totally agree with that because here what happened now. My concept of things is that a lot of people are afraid of lizard, and they are afraid of the wasp. They're afraid of the frog, the common frog that is around. They are afraid of even some of the spiders that they actually see. And I am saying if a small farmer or a large farmer, and this goes for everybody who do farm, if you actually go into your field and see a lizard or the wasp or the frog or the other some of these insects going around, it is really an indication to say that there are certain pests that you don't want. Right. Because they're actually feeding on these pests,
right?
You know, so we would suggest and ask persons or farmers and our householders. If you see the frog man, no matter get rid of him. Because it kind of help you.
Yeah, man, help out and preserve the environment for the crop and things like that. In some cases that they might, like in some cases, might have them the pests actually really outnumber them still. But if we ever use chemical any at all, try to use a more mild chemical environmental friendly.
Yeah, but a lot of people say, boy, them have been spraying with this and I've been spraying with that. I'm not getting no result. And I am wondering if the chemicals that are really created or designed or blend, are these chemicals only blend for specific pests or specific insects?
Well, the label basically will tell you what that chemical is made for, what insect it can control, how we should use it, the rate, or what we call it dosage, meaning you can't put more than what the manufacturer said. Really expect.
Yeah, but a man will say about spray. I must say, boy, him not smell the chemical.
Well,
I must say, boy, no, it not smell strong enough, so him go mix it a little stronger.
And the fact again, say, you must say, smell it again, it means they must inhale it in the system. They're not using protective gear.
That
so again,
I'm not supposed to be doing that.
Right. Yeah. So encourage the safety use of protective gear and use proper instrumental equipment that can measure the pesticide. So if it's a 1 teaspoon, use a teaspoon or it's a 5 milliliter, use a 5 milliliter. Don't go over that. But again, even thing we call post-harvest interval, meaning after you apply the chemical, the time that you should leave after. When you increase the dosage, you don't really know. I guess to say, well, after that time, even though the label might tell us 3 to 7 days, for example, when you use more, you really don't know what the post-harvest interval is.
And then what could also happen is that using more can also help the pest that you want to get rid of to build some level of immune.
Right.
And you don't really want that. So what will happen is that you find a man say, spray, and you're not getting any result.
Right.
And maybe that have a lot to do with the amount of chemicals that you have been using and over what period of time, and you just use the same chemical over and over and over. But when we look at the chemicals, because we're going to talk about the insects, but we really want persons to know about chemicals itself. We know we have chemicals acting 2 ways. You have one of them called systemic, right? And you have the other one called contact, right?
Sometimes it's come up.
Yeah, so the contact is which one? How the contact really works?
Well, the contact basically the one that as it come in contact with the pest, it will harm the pest. So if the pest is not there when that is being applied, or even after it's been applied, it will come in contact with the pest. There's a case that maybe it wouldn't be proper control. So
in the sense now, for you to really use a contact, you have to really spray when you know that the insects are active.
Yeah, when the insects are active, and again that go back to certain time of the day and things like that.
Yeah, so we have to ensure that we're on top of the game. To know right, this is the time when these insects normally comes out and feed. But in relation to the systemic now, how the systemic and what is the systemic and how it actually works?
Well, the systemic basically, let's say, go into the system of the plant. So when it's being applied, just don't stay on the surface alone. Go to the system of the plant. This system of the plant now. If the insect or the pest isn't there at the time, they come and feed on the plant itself.
Yeah.
They will be.
So it's just like a man who if he might drink some water and him drink the natural water, but if you had a little sugar, like a poison in it, or you change the whole flavor.
You change the whole flavor.
And you change the whole mode of action of the water.
Right.
So it's a similar activity now when you spray it on the plant itself and the chemicals go into it, because I take it that the chemicals go into the system of the plant.
Yeah, right? Chemicals go into the system.
And then the insect come and feed. And from that now.
Yeah,
so in relation to the insects that we have, we know they have mode of action in relation to how they feed. Could you highlight some of these mode of action? I mean, or the feeding pattern? Because we know, so we have some of them called chewing insect and sucking in.
Some insect that basically feed by chewing.
Now what kind of insect those? You more if
like
more having color one and come out and then look and see like the leaves them start to bore up.
Yeah, that's a bit more like the beetles, beetles, grass, apple, cricket, or cricket and things like those. So we call them cutter, mole cricket. Those would be some like we call them mandible. That bigger word where they cut the plant. Compared to say like the dangerous whitefly, aphids, we are more of a sucking pattern. So they suck from the plant.
Okay.
But those are some of the action that are
we look at even some of the insects normally feed, for example, different. We'll look at a leaf miner. The leaf miner actually burrows into the leaf itself, and like it separates.
Make a road like a tunnel. Yeah.
So we have a sample. Right? Where we have when you look at say tracks, like you have river running. So what these insects actually do, they feed on the tissues and leave that track inside of it.
Yeah, they feed on tissues, leave that track, and in some cases they might lay their eggs somewhere under the leaves also. But that is because most of the time the insect what you call life cycle. Some life cycle might be more destructive. Sometimes this life cycle is called a larvae. Like when I call a worm, are more destructive than to the adult. Or the one that fly.
And because we were having the discussion at the last session where we were talking about even fruits that fall from the tree, and some of these pests normally they burrow into the soil, and they remain there for a while. Right. So could you highlight? Give us some info on some of these pests or fruit. Is it fruit fly?
Yeah. Well, mango, the mainly we call fruit fly. Mainly the western fruit fly. That mainly with the flies will, when the mango reach a certain stage, they will lay on the mango. So when they lay inside of the mango mature, and when that egg hatches, it germinate. Well, when I say germinate, but when it hatch,
but
basically,
I always hear people talk say, when you see these, the mango having the worm, it's as if the eggs remain dormant until the sugar content develop or build up in the mango, because I'm saying we don't have the worm when they're green.
See the worm.
Or when they're ripe, they actually see the worm.
Because some people, even where I'm from, well, mango not a lot there, but most of the people think that it's really when it blossom that really takes place. But it's really when the fruit reach a certain stage and the fly is attracted to it, and it's pheromone and things like that. That they come there and lay. And then after a period of time, as I said, the sugar content build up, you might see them emerging, fall into the ground and continue the cycle.
And the cycle continue.
Right.
So what would you recommend for persons with fruit trees in general? We're not only talking about mango, because we talk about the whole using back some of these fruits to enhance the fertility of the soil.
Like make compost.
But what would you recommend to persons in relation to fruits that are falling? What would you suggest?
Well, with those, because we have a thing we call field sanitation. So we want to ensure that in order not to, maintain or say allow the population of the pest to build up, we have to get rid of those fruits, under the tree that are falling into one location possible, and we can say put them in a tight bag like, and so they allow them to break down in a warm condition so that this destroys some of these.
Okay.
We don't want for them to remain under the tree and then continue the life cycle.
Yeah, I want our audience to pay keen attention. We're going to show some slides in relation to some of these pests that you normally have issues with and concerns on a daily basis. And especially I want persons, especially the householders, to really focus more on the enzyme scale, because what we actually did now, we put the slide with the enzyme scale and then the one with the white fly, so you can identify, all right, this is the enzyme scale, this is the white fly. Because I can tell you 90% of the calls we get, they're saying that it's white fly because them look white.
Yeah, white, right.
But as of today, farmers and householders, you will be able to identify enzyme scale separate and apart from white flies.
And I think one of the things where like this thing is against it too, especially when they go there, like they're to touch the plant, more cases than often than that.
The white flies normally flies up, while the enzyme scale remain.
Right.
So these are some of the mode of actions of some of these pests. So I want our clients to really pay keen attention when we come back from the slides. We'll be having discussions in relation to some of these pests. We're going to take some calls in relation to the problem that some of our clients are actually having, and the recommendation. We want to also recommend some of the natural treatment, because a lot of people want to move away from using the actual chemical and using natural means of control. All right, so we're going to go into the slides, and then we will pick up from where we left off. Right. But I want us also to speak about the aphids in relation to how they normally would transmit the virus from to other plants and things like that when they come back. Okay? All right.
All right, so we continue with the householders, I hope you had learned a few things from the slides that were shown. It's very, very important that you get all of these information, and we try to use the pictures itself for you to identify some of these pests. You know, even at times we here in the ministry, you find new pests keep popping up, you know, over and over, and we have to try to get all of these information. But before we because we're going to do some scouting and things, but the thing is that with the ministry now, we are putting some emphasis, because we have to talk about some of the emphasis that we have now in relation to a fruit fly that we don't really want into Jamaica. And what RADA is actually doing, RADA is going through the entire parish, island, and setting up some of these traps to see if these. Could you highlight some that aspect of
mention that fly? I think that fly that you mentioned is what we call a Mediterranean fruit fly. That fly isn't in Jamaica as yet. However, we have the program in place. We call it we refer to it shortly as Medfly program, to ensure that, you know, we have traps in the areas to detect if it's in the island. So far, we haven't detected any in the island, which is very good, and we want to maintain that process.
And we're not taking a reaction approach to it.
Yeah, we're more proactive.
Yeah. Right. So we are also asking the society and the country at large. If you go anywhere and see these little wide triangle looking, please do not touch them, because this is a national situation, and this will determine if we can export certain crops that we have, right? And now they're putting some emphasis on the whole exporting of mangoes. And it is very, very crucial to ensure that we are on top of the game.
Yeah, because even as I mentioned, mango, I think even one of the main hosts for that place is mango. I know we have some of the nice mango in Jamaica. Right?
The varieties are so large and wide, you know.
Nice, and yes. So we want to ensure that, you know, we protect that, and also from other fruits. Because sometimes they might say they affect one fruit, but when it's not here, they
must find another host.
Yeah. Right.
All right. So we're now going to we just want persons to be able to identify with it. So when they actually see these things, they will know that this is something that is of national interest. A colleague is going to give me. So when you're going through anywhere in Jamaica, and you see this hung up into a tree, and
Jackson trap.
The Jackson trap, right? And I'm going to ask our citizens if a RADA representative or officer come by your holding and say they would want to place a trap for national security. I am asking that we all participate and work to ensure that we maintain and sustain Jamaica land we love.
Mention again the householders and farmers, that anything that's gonna harm you or anything, it's, as I said, just for the best interest of the country, to protect our agricultural sector. And economy.
But another thing too, you know, it will also help us as officers to identify some of the pests that are actually in these areas just the same.
Just the same, right.
So it will be a win-win from everybody aspect.
Situation. And also again, you know, it kind of give you a guide as to say how we deal with the pest situation. So, you know, help not only say this but other sectors.
Good. All right. Now we're going to go into the meat of the matter now, because a lot of people plant a lot of vegetables and plant a lot of crops in their space, and they don't really, them only get up. Because so many time I do it, you know, we just get up and we just water. Right now we fertilize. And they will say the leaf them start bore up, or we see some things and the leaf them start change, but now we are saying why disease coming. But I think we need to do some things before these things happen. So I would say we need to take a or not a reactive approach, but a proactive approach. So for this to be done, for us to identify if there's a problem, we have a thing where them call scouting, right? And I'm going to ask you to take us through the reason for scouting and how we can benefit from scouting and what are the steps or measures that we can put in place or do in relation to scouting our plants.
Well, scouting are basically an activity that we perform to examine the field. So you can scout in say different pattern that we call it X pattern. If
So
your
you're
field is
talking like a
triangle,
large farmer now.
yeah, large
Farmer.
farm, you can just go across, well, in an X pattern, and maybe select each area, 5 location of the field, and scout here. And the M pattern, or if you want to use an N pattern. So those
So you
are
can
some,
use the alphabet, a letter from the alphabet
Yeah,
per se.
yeah, letter from the alphabet. As I say, mainly X, M, N, and so forth.
Okay.
For a smaller field, as the household at the backyard garden, basically they can visit every plant.
All right.
And examine,
So-
especially on
So you see, means a man, I don't know much about this scouting. Because scouting is we would normally play some like a game. So we're going to bring it to a different level now. Where, and as I said, we want the children to also be involved in this. You know. So could you just carry through the process of scouting at this time?
All right. Well, scouting, as I say, basically, examining the plant. As a backyard gardener, have small amounts of plant. You basically want to and find easily. So look here, you see the leaf pattern much different. But usually, when you see it at this stage, usually the infections are fixed long ago.
So, all right, because when we do the scouting, we find different things happening for the plant, right? When we're actually doing it now, could you tell me, is it an insect problem? Because I'm always that's why I insect are, but do you know that insect when you start that insect problem or a fungal problem?
Well, most diseases are fungal problem or say bacterial or so microorganisms usually cause that issue. So when like these this are more like a fungal problem. If you go deeper down, we say identify the fruiting bodies and things, on the spot there, right? So basically refer to this as a leaf spot, right? Compared to say what we'll see on a pepper plant, example, this one, as you can see there, you can see the area where whitefly was located. Usually for insect pests, they're usually located under the leaves. By the safe area for them. So usually, if any chemical is being applied, sometimes if it's not systemic, as you mentioned earlier, they might be still under there. Okay. And if you also look, you might see the signs also and the symptoms.
Yeah, but we notice the leaves start to. This is what sweet pepper.
Yeah, sweet pepper.
We notice the leaves start to curl, right?
Yes.
What could be the cause of this at this time? Because I think a lot of our householders may have these problem at home and don't really know exactly what it is. So could you speak to that for me?
All right. Usually when you see problem like this, even the curling, sometimes it can be as a result of many factors. In some cases might be as a result of mites. In other cases it might be as a result of some toxicity, meaning you overuse of chemical or not the proper use of chemical that causes stunted growth. Well, for this seems more to me like more of a mite problem, right? If you see the leaf sort of stretch in a way, and you see that stunted growth, and these flower, if these flower to develop, you get some very small fruits.
Okay, so a man made a point and I said, boy, me I listen to the program and the man say it can be mice. But they what me see nothing on the leaf.
Oh yeah. In a most cases, the mites can be there and you don't see because they are very small. So usually you want we call a lens that can bring them up a little um, larger. So when you look and examine if they are there, you will usually see the small mites. Mites again is not an insect. It's we call it a parasite.
Okay. Because we really want our clients to do, I mean, understand that most of these diseases are pests of different behavior pattern.
Right.
And they have preferred plants that they would normally feed on. But then say when a man hungry, like the main crop we want is that around to find
Very fine something else. So you would tell it even for mites, I'd say if the main crop is that you would crop.
all right, we look at it now. We see where you show some spots on the this is the turmeric, right? You show some um white flies or symptoms of white flies and mites. And now we move over now. We have this color look here, and the color look was looking good and thing. But all of a sudden, I just some holes all over it,
Coming up out almost out of nowhere.
Yeah. So what is it that I should really actually be looking for if I'm examining my color look? I have a cabbage or a broccoli or so.
Well, it was a little bit different from the sweet pepper. This one, that what I like is a chewing insect, right? And I'm more serious when you can do the lava, might be there. So again, more time when we're checking, checking under the surface, I really see there's any lava there. Well, in this case, we don't see any, but usually when it damage is done, they are out of here.
Yeah,
right?
well, and so many time, and I know for a fact that a lot of households would identify with situation like this. Normally, where you see the leaves have a little curly,
Right.
it actually tells you boy the worms.
Yeah, the worms are the lava is present there. Right?
Yeah.
Even this case, you can see that they were here.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look carefully, you will see the frost.
Yes.
The frost is basically the feces that the larvae passed out because they were there. Well, this plant seems to be taken care of since a late, so
Yes.
don't really see any
Well,
insect around.
Well, let me ask another question now, because a lot of people normally say, boy, them go to them bed last night and come back the next evening. Them say, them 4 or 5. They don't have answer not about these things. Is that they are just dominant with that?
That most yes, because it might and again it depends on the place. But it might be nearby. For example, some person might have issues like store. And usually if you don't clear around this around here like say debris rocks might be hiding under there for a good while and then they just come out especially during the night and do a lot of damage. So when you come in the morning and you realize, oh, the crop is being destroyed.
I was having a discussion with a household the other day. They're saying that why we're encouraging people to plant in containers, right? We are encouraging people to plant in containers, but what happens is that when they plant in containers, for so many times when they come out, they see some silky streaks,
And that definitely show that there's so
yeah, yeah. So what we were saying now is that when you actually plant in these containers, that doesn't mean you leave the containers randomly and don't really check on them. From time to time, you have to really move them, to ensure that you don't really have any slugs remaining or embedded under these containers. But I want you to look at my friend here now. This brethren, I think everybody in Jamaica is supposed to know this brethren. right? And we want people to see this virgin. Them call him the stink bug. Them call him diamond backbat. Them call him grudgeful. And really and truly, I think this virgin is really grudgeful here. Yeah. So look at how him behave. Is he a chewing insect or a sucking insect?
Well, this one is a sucking insect. Usually, yeah, it's up from the plant. I think in most cases you might see this commenting your nice tomatoes. That's your nice tomato there, and then when it's near maturity, you see the different colors basically.
Yeah, I see some
red,
little round spots and
spots
and thing inside that. So this is the culprit.
yeah, that's the culprit.
Yeah. So I want the householders to know that this virgin is a very serious virgin.
Right.
Oh,
And as the name suggests, I think if you give off a certain
yeah, man, as
substance
a touching man,
after a while, yeah.
I think that is his defensive mode.
Different,
Still,
right.
But how do you really control or treat a pest like this?
Well, a pest like this now, if so from a standpoint we don't want to use a lot of chemicals, try to get in other plants and give off some effect.
So let me ask you though. So are you saying that now if I have surplus time or schedule, could I create a blend that I could actually um allow it to stay for a time and then spray on the plant? You think that would have any effect on it?
Yeah, that would have effect on it. But you would say have effect for ever. Right?
No,
After a while,
that's
yeah.
natural. Yeah, but the thing is that you want to ensure say you get it out
Get
of the
in
space.
out of the space
Yeah,
for a while.
and that is what we want a lot of persons to understand. Most of these natural treatment that we speak about, they don't really actually kill.
Right.
Most of the insects, it's more like the soft body insects, they may have some serious effect on. Right? But they don't really kill these pests that is affecting the plant, right? So we have to ensure that if you're going to do that, you have to make sure they have a cycle of spraying. Just
Yeah.
like how you normally have a cycle for the synthetic chemical.
And again, as I said, they affect the fruits mainly cause the most damage here. So you again as a householder can,
Or the farmer.
yeah, or the farmer again can just plan. So as you reach that stage where the tomato for producing food and ensure that you step up the management plan, look for him, and
Yeah, so that
keep away as
so
much
it
as possible.
shows because you see what happened now. We were just here having the discussion. I would say, all right, we have to really do some scoping so persons can really see some of the measures that you can put in place to identify. And fortunately, the virgin, I don't know who I see, but fortunately he's here.
Yeah,
So
right.
persons can really identify, So it pays to know that there are certain practices and measures that they can put in place to either alleviate or to identify, and then the necessary treatment can be recommended. Because the chemical that you want to recommend for this virgin, maybe you would recommend that for another pest.
Right. Even, but again, the label I will tell you exactly. Some pesticide basically called broad spectrum. Things sometimes try to avoid really the broad spectrum. Like broad spectrum, everybody. Yeah. But if you can get into more answers, it will be quite much better.
But there's something I think we need to talk about. Very, very important. See, to the wasp.
Yeah, we have our helpful.
Yeah, breaking their own. I don't say some of the house owners and the ladies, them bar, them stay, them gone,
Yeah, they was.
Yeah,
Right.
man, wasp lizard and all the beneficial thing, them never run leave.
Right.
But that's how it is. But
And again, well, you are the project tour and other one like we call it free mantis. Yeah. Might look like a very offensive there, but not gonna harm you. You just to feed on the
It's just like with the slide, With the slide, we show where there was a caterpillar. And with the slide, they have a cotton mass covering the caterpillar. And but a lot of persons don't understand now this white, fluffy, nice looking thing it's not a pest that is going to create any harm, but what he's actually doing is feeding on
the cat, right?
yeah, man. So he's helping us by helping himself, you know, by feeding, you know. So we have to know and identify with these things, so we can know exactly the purpose that they serve. You know, because sometimes because we don't know, we may say, boy, these are not beneficial pests. You know, they're not beneficial to us, but they are actually beneficial. But in relation to spray, you see, there's some concern in relation to spray because I have my garden here, and that is where we talk about the whole communal spray, you know, where your neighbor should be so together.
Yeah.
You can't talk to your neighbor and say, Miss Brown or Miss Mary, we are actually going to do some spraying, you know. And the thing is that I wouldn't mind if you would spray when I am spraying. And speak to that, because the thing is that we want persons to understand why it is very important for not only one person to spray, but for all the persons within that space to do some level of control.
Okay, yeah, because when it comes to the control of the insect pests or say even mites, you know, so it's good that everybody in the area, you know, control the pest. It can't be that one person controlling and that person not controlling. But the person that's not controlling the pest, that pest will basically, you know, build up over that area, and then after a while leave from that area and come back to the area that was created.
Yeah, because I think once the chemical is sprayed, nothing lasts forever.
Yeah, nothing lasts forever.
Right? So it gives you a time period.
Right.
You know, say for example, you know, it is a 2-week cycle where you spray, no, and within 2 weeks after, the chemical will not have no more effect on the pest here. So if I do the spray and you don't, and go on persons to understand, you know, if I am actually doing some level of control now, you know, the pest that is going to remain, I mean, not on my farm or my holding, but in your space, they are going to create more damage to your crop.
Yeah, we create
because they're not other means.
No other means. And in some case again, if they are here, as they might, as I said, if the food is not here, they might feed on other food until that food.
Yeah, because if a man hungry, I think he must find some feed.
Yeah,
find something to eat.
Like in a survival mode, so they will.
And that is why we have to have the collective effort where you have the togetherness with neighbors, sharing with neighbors. And the thing is that what we want to do, we don't only want you to plan, but we want you to not only to share information, but we want you to share even the produce. You know. And another thing again, sometimes even we mentioned the whole thing about hygiene and, you know, field sanitation. But sometimes in an area also they might have like a gardener moving from the one also to the next to take care of gardens. That gardener also has to be careful to ensure that, you know, proper hygiene, clean clothes each time move from one garden to the next. Like you can carry the pests from one area to the next. Yeah, man, and that is why we don't recommend for persons to move from one location to another just like that. You know, right. But boy, the series, the information is so much. We wanted to even talk about nematodes we affect, because a lot of householders have bananas, you know, and when them see the bananas, them are top over, and them look at the bottom, them see it black and so. But the thing is that we can talk, you know, but we want to hear from our clients. Right. We want to know if there's any concern. So we're going to open up the floor now, where we'll be taking questions. And I can tell you, you're wearing a very big hat today, though. A very, very big hat today, because you're now going to be put in the firing line in relation to some of these questions. And I know the clients really have some serious questions to ask because of some of the problems that they're having from day to day. All right, so we're now open for questions and answers.
the question.
Oh, for the question, the person who is online, could you unmute their mic? Okay. All right. Let us talk about the nematode because we have all right. We know so we have nematodes, we have virus, we have bacteria, we have fungus, we have insects, right? Could you I shed some light on some of these for me, like the nematodes, the mode of action, how they behave. All right. Someone is online. Project Grant. Please unmute your mic.
A pleasant morning. I'm listening for my husband, but most of what you're saying is Spanish and German. Notice that it is being recorded. Can it be made available so that he can listen in when he has the time?
Could you repeat for me, please?
I'm saying I'm listening for my husband.
Mm-hmm.
The reason that he doesn't have any internet or Wi-Fi, so he asked me to listen in for him.
Okay.
Most of what you're saying is German and Spanish. I'm asking if the recording could be made available.
It is on YouTube. So, but I don't know if he will have access to the YouTube or RADA JM.
Yeah, RADA JM.
Yeah, on YouTube.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
So, any other? What do you think about the presentation?
I identify some of the pests and the whitefly versus the other thing that things to the thing. I'm always afraid of them, so I don't really go near them.
And
but I know the difference. Yes, the whitefly will fly up if you touch, but the other thing don't move. So I'm learning a little, but as I say, mostly Spanish and German, but I'm learning a little.
Yes, we'll learn the language today, man. It's just practice. That's all.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
How often? Often they should use Pegasus.
Oh.
All right. In relation to Pegasus, this is my personal experience. I use for the first cycle of spraying, and then I would rotate. And this is a practice that we recommend. So you can have the usage of the Pegasus, then you may rotate it with like a cure, and then you go back to the Pegasus. But we don't recommend for you to be using the same chemical over and over and over.
And even on the label there, the label usually give you an indication, like even for the crop, they said don't use this pesticide or product more than say three times per crop cycle.
Or it would also say that use within a certain time frame before reap, right, to take place.
And with that, again, you're thinking about other things like post-harvest interval.
Mm-hmm.
If it's going to take a longer time to harvest out the longer post-harvest interval when you are near to reaping, you don't want to use a pesticide with a much shorter post-harvest interval.
You know, we have some concern also, you know, because we have chemicals that is on the market that they say, boy, you can spray today, you reap tomorrow, right? And I think those are more biological chemicals.
Yeah.
Right. But the thing about it is, I don't really have a problem with that. But my concern as an individual though is are we actually reading the label? That is very important for us to really focus on getting the necessary information, because you may have a chemical say 2 weeks, another will tell you 3 weeks, right? And then what happens is that a man may say, boy, why am I have some fruits on the tree and he want to reap them out, right? But why them not ready for reap it, but he want to spray. No, it's one of two things. Either you go allow the fruits to mature or ripe, and then you reap off and then you spray, or you go spray and not bother reap. Right. So it's one of two things. You can.
Yeah. So as again, I said the decision is here for the person to make. If you know you're gonna reap certain time in a certain time, that so after a 3-day period, and the chemical say, well, you have to wait 7 days or more. Don't use that chemical.
Yeah.
Especially if you can't find a one with a less pre-harvest interval, then it makes sense that you reap, and then after you reap, then you spray.
Okay, that is so interesting. I'm sure the householders and the farmers and anybody watching on YouTube, Facebook, that's a good information. It's a planter and food safety officer, Mr. Harvey, showing us about pest identification. And we want to thank the public for watching. So all this information that I've been sharing for the last 5 weeks, they are available on YouTube. So you can visit RADA on YouTube. So thank you again for joining us today. And we invite you to join us again next week, where we'll be talking about harvesting and food preparation. Once again, we'd like to thank our sponsors. The sponsors are Digital Foundation, Evergrow Plant and Garden Center, Agriviews, and Skyfall for the set design. Also, thank you to the St. Andrew Parish Office for hosting us. Join us again next Friday, again, as we speak about harvesting and food preparation. Thank you.
Good morning. Before you go, I wasn't hearing you clearly to hear we're on YouTube. I can get the information.
Backyard garden seal.
I'm not. The recording stopped. Good morning.
That's natural. That's natural treatment. Turn over the side. Look to this camera, right? Turn it over. Alright. Regular quiet, please. No, let's start. Let's go do it. Just no, next week. Perfect. Yep, come on. Alright. Feeding, so whenever you're ready, you can start, alright?
Good morning and welcome to this